everyone, Old School Pokemon here. So today's video, thought I'd go ahead and do another kind of eBay related video. For those of you who are familiar with listing on eBay, this will probably be a little bit boring for you, but hopefully you'll learn a few new tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. If you're new to selling on eBay, this will probably be a good video to watch because I'm going to be going over how to actually list an item on eBay. Specifically, we'll be focusing on Pokemon cards because obviously that's what a majority of my business is. So just wanted to share this with everyone. I thought this was pretty cool. So as of right now, obviously I don't have anything listed within my eBay store. Everything's in vacation mode for right now, so you guys can't see any of this. But as of right now, I have 2,248 listings with a total quantity of 19,177 items. So total cards listed on eBay. I thought that was pretty cool. My goal before I leave, I'd like to try and get this number up to close to 2,500 before I actually leave and go on my ship for a couple months. Just so that when I come home, I'll be all ready to go to jump right back into sales. So I have been listing quite a few new items on eBay, even though everything is shut down and nobody can purchase anything. But anyway, getting into today's video. So we'll go ahead and go over how to list an item on eBay. So this is an item that I sold quite some time ago, or beginning of May actually. I sold this card. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to click on Sell Similar Item. So what this means is if you have an item listed on eBay, you can click Sell Similar, and it'll kind of populate all of that information from that listing into your new listing, which does make the process go a little bit quicker. But if you're brand new to selling on eBay, you can get this same page. All the information here will be blank by going Create New Listing or something along those lines there. So we'll jump right into it. We'll go from top to bottom. I'll discuss everything that's required, throw a few tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, and hopefully you guys find this useful. So right off the bat here, we got the item title. This is probably the most important aspect of your actual eBay listing, because this is how the majority of your customers are going to find your listing on eBay. So you want to include as many keywords as possible within your item title. You have a total of 88 characters to begin with within your item title. So you can use up to 88 characters. Definitely take advantage of as many characters as possible within your item title. And as far as keywords for Pokemon, obviously I kind of have a set format that I use for everything. So within every single one of my listings, the first word within my title is going to be Pokemon, because that's obviously what the most people are going to be searching for. So, and what I mean by that, if you do a search, when people search for something, for the most part, they're going to be searching Pokemon. So if you have Pokemon in your title, your listing is going to show up within somewhere on their results. So Pokemon, real good keyword to use within your title. Definitely one of the must keywords there. Next up, I go into what set the actual card is from. So in this case, it's the first edition base set 1, because we're selling we'll say that we're selling a first edition base set Charmeleon. So I'll include the set name. That'll be right after Pokemon. Then I'll include the card rarity, so whether it's a common, an uncommon, a rare, a holographic, a reverse holographic. Then I'll include the actual name and number of the card. So in this case, Charmeleon 24 of 102. And then lastly, I'll include the condition of the card. So in this case, near mint to mint condition. That's basically how I format all of my eBay listings. Pokemon is the first word within my title. Set name is the next couple words within my title. Rarity is the next one. Card name and number, and then the condition last. And like I was saying, you want to take advantage of as many characters as possible. So in this case, I only have 9 characters left, so that's pretty good right there. Took advantage of a good amount of the available characters. Few things to avoid within item title. You don't want to include random words. It'll make the title seem better. It'll make the title sound better or look better maybe. But people aren't going to be searching for those keywords or those words. So if you include stuff like awesome, great, awesome collection, something along those lines, people aren't going to be searching for those words. So you really don't need to include those. Another one that I used to do all the time and have stopped, but I always did the classic L at or at K for look. Nobody's going to be searching for this on eBay, so that's basically a waste of 4 characters right there. So you really don't need to include stuff like that. So that's it for the item title. Next up, we've got this stand out with bold title in search results. This is an additional fee. You do have to pay an extra $4 for this bolded title within search results. You can include that within your listing if you're selling something high value or if you're selling something with a lot of quantity available. Personally, I'd recommend just completely avoiding that because it is an extra $4. So that $4 will occur every time your item gets listed on eBay. So that cost can add up. And frankly, you don't really see the need for that anymore. That used to be a big thing on eBay, but frankly, it's kind of dying out. You don't see many people including that anymore. So I would just avoid that. Similar to subtitle, subtitle can be used if you're selling something higher value or something that you have a lot of quantity of. It might be beneficial for you if you want to include a little bit more information that you weren't able to fit in the title. Personally, again, I really don't use subtitles because it is an extra fee. In this case, it's $1.50. So yeah, I would kind of avoid those two, in my personal opinion. Next up, custom label. You don't need to worry about that. Category. This is another kind of important one. Well, according to eBay, it's real important, but this is basically where your listing is going to be placed on eBay, within which category. So if you're selling Pokemon cards, you're going to want the Toys and Hobbies, followed by Collectible Card Games, Pokemon Trading Card Game, and then finally you have a few different options once you get into this Pokemon category. As long as you get into this Pokemon category, you're pretty much good to go. You really don't need to select this one. Obviously, you do need to select one option, but it's really not going to matter once you get into the Pokemon category for the most part. So in this case, we're selling individual cards. So I have that selected. I actually basically, whenever I list an item on eBay, I basically always do sell similar. So I'm basically always in this category. Even if I'm selling something different, like if I'm selling like stickers or a lot of cards or a complete set, I basically just leave this as Pokemon individual cards. I never really mess with that too much. So it really doesn't make a huge difference. Some people do like to search by category. That's one way that you can search for stuff. Personally, I don't think many people search this way. So yeah, that's really not a huge deal right there. But you do want to be within this Pokemon trading card game category. That's definitely a must right there. Second category, there is an additional fee if you do want to include a second category within your listing. Similar to the bold listings and the subtitles, it is an additional fee, and the fee, personally, I wouldn't recommend adding an additional category for your listing. I would just leave it as the one category and call it good to go. Next up, we've got the store categories. So this applies to people who have an eBay store. If you have an eBay store set up, you're able to create different categories within your own eBay store. So for example, the first category within my eBay store is, we're probably not going to be able to see it because I don't have anything, it's not showing that I have anything listed on eBay. But if you go to my eBay store, yeah, we don't have any listings, but if you go to my eBay store, normally on this left-hand side here, you're going to have a whole bunch of different categories based off of the Pokemon set. So the first category would be Base Set 1. If you click on that, you'd be presented with another drop-down menu that leads to First Edition Base Set Holographics, First Edition Base Set Rares, so on and so forth. So that's what this is dealing with. This is saying, I want this specific item listed within this store category of mine. So it's Base Set 1, First Edition Uncommon Cards. So you can include up to 2 store categories. No fee involved with this. This is basically included with your store subscription fee. UPC, for the Pokemon category itself, you really don't need to worry about the UPC. If you want to include it, you can. If you're selling something like a booster box, Elite Trainer box, booster packs, so on and so forth, you can include the UPC. It'll generate some kind of cookie cutter information for you. I believe you'll get a stock image of whatever you're selling, whatever that UPC is. You'll get some pre-made information within your item description. It's really not big within the Pokemon category, so I always just leave that blank. If you're selling other items on eBay, I know certain categories it is required to have the UPC. Like I believe video games is one where you are required to include the UPC number. But basically, if it doesn't have this red star next to the UPC, it's not required. So it's up to you whether you want to include that or not. Next up, we've got the condition. So this is another big one. If you're selling individual cards, lots of cards, basically something that doesn't come from the factory that way, even if it is mint condition, you're going to want to select used. So it's going to say an item that has been previously used. Even if you're selling like a mint condition card, you're going to want to select used versus new, which is basically a brand new, unused, unopened, undamaged item. So I would personally recommend, if you're selling individual cards, lots of cards, anything outside of booster packs, booster boxes, factory sealed items, just select the used condition to avoid confusion with buyers, to avoid angry buyers, basically. So there's that. Condition description, you can basically give a brief description as to why you're selecting this used category. You can change this within each one of your eBay listings to kind of outline the damage if you want to. Personally, I just have the same kind of text within all of my listings, and I do that just because condition is required. So I put used for basically everything unless I'm selling something factory sealed. And then as a description, I just say all Pokemon cards within my eBay store are marked as used. Please see the item description for full details on the condition. So this is basically telling people the condition is used, but the actual condition is listed below in the item description. So that's kind of the general response I put for this right here. Next up, we've got the photos. So on eBay, you're allowed to upload 12 images or photos per listing. I would definitely recommend taking advantage of as many photos as you can, depending upon the situation. So if you're just selling an individual common, uncommon card, picture the front, picture the back, that's perfectly fine. If you're selling something higher end, maybe base set holographic Charizard, something like that, something higher end like that, utilize the pictures, the slots that eBay allows for your pictures. So in my case, anything that I have priced over, I believe I do a $25 cutoff. Anything that I have priced above $25 in terms of raw ungraded cards, I'll go ahead and list those as individual listings, so you're seeing the exact card that you'd be purchasing, and I take 10 pictures of that card. I do one picture straight on, so you can see the entire front of the card. I do the same thing with the back, so you can see the entire back of the card, and then I do a few different angles. So this applies to more so the holographic cards where you want to get the different angles, but I just kind of have it across the board with all of my listings. So I do the card tilted to the left, I do the card tilted to the right, I do a close-up of the top of the card. This picture will load, but you can see the little thumbnail there. I do a picture of the bottom half of the card, and I do the same thing with the back of the card. So basically that same process, upload the 10 pictures onto eBay. So that helps avoid any confusion or people asking you for additional pictures. For the most part, if you do include all these pictures, people aren't going to message you and say, hey, can you include an additional picture of this, such and such. So definitely utilize a bunch of pictures if you're selling something higher end. Outline or take a picture of the damage, any damage that's on the card, any of the imperfections, so on and so forth. As far as backgrounds for pictures, we'll do another video where I go more in depth on this, kind of best practices for photographing and different stuff like that. But for the most part, you want to take pictures. You want to get close-up pictures as close as you can. You want to have a clean background in the background. Me personally, I use a black poster board or foam board type of thing. I've had that forever, and I just use that for all my pictures. So I got a nice clean black background. I got close-up pictures of the card. So there's really no distractions, and you can see the actual card really well. I like the black background because it helps kind of amplify the whiteness. If there's any whiteness along the edges, that black background will really help show that damage. So I would definitely recommend the black background there. I like using that a lot. The biggest thing though is you don't want any distractions within your pictures. So you don't want to be holding the card or have the card zoomed way out so you're seeing a whole bunch of other stuff in the background. You want a nice clean picture. So there's enough information on that for now. This is another add-on that you can add. Display a larger photo in search results. I would frankly just avoid that altogether. Don't worry about that. This next whole section, item specifics or specifics. This is a whole bunch of information of different searches that people can do on eBay. Frankly, for the most part, I believe people search by the search bar right here. So we'll go, just to give you an example. Frankly, I believe most people just search by the search bar. However, like I said earlier, it is possible to search by store categories, or I'm sorry, eBay categories, which is right here. And it's also possible to search by these item specifics. So that's what all this information is populating. So if you're just getting into eBay, you're selling a few items here and there, it might be a good idea to go ahead and add as much of this information as possible. That way, if someone does search by these specifics right here, your item will pop up within their search results. Otherwise, if you don't include this information and someone does search using this, your item won't be available in their search results. But I don't think it's a huge deal. I haven't seen a decrease in business because I don't have this information. And frankly, I'll probably never include this information unless it does become mandatory, just because there's too many listings that I'd have to go back and edit to include all this information. It would just take way too much time there. So me personally, I don't include it. If you're doing a few items here and there, or you're just getting started, it might be a good idea to go ahead and include it. They do give you like how many people or how many searches are done using this information. So, and it is quite substantial. I don't know how accurate these numbers are. I assume they're pretty accurate, but yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal. So there's all that. Next up, we've got the item description. So this is one where you can basically do whatever you want. You can give as much information or as little information as you want. Me personally, I kind of have the same template within all of my listings. If you're just getting started, you're just listing a few items here and there, you probably don't need to use this. If you're listing a bunch of items, or you want to get into listing a whole bunch of items, making a template is definitely beneficial because it'll save a whole bunch of time as you create each of those eBay listings. Like I said, it's really up to you. You can include as much information or as little information as you want within this item description. I wouldn't spend a tremendous amount of time writing a novel within the item description, because for the most part, people aren't going to be reading thoroughly this description here. They're going to be kind of scanning through it. I used to spend a whole bunch of time typing up every little bit of information within my item description, and I would still receive questions from people asking stuff that I had provided within the item description itself, whether that be what's the cost of shipping, what's the condition of the card, is it first edition, blah, blah, blah. So I don't believe people actually go ahead and read through these item descriptions thoroughly, so you don't want to be spending hours writing a perfect description. Couple minutes, couple sentences, a paragraph, that's fine right there. So me personally, I have this kind of format right here. The only information that I'm changing on a per item basis is this portion right here. So starting off, we got the Pokemon set. First edition, I put the abbreviation for first edition, just in case someone looks at the item title, sees this first ed, and doesn't quite know what that means. So I did first ed, first edition. Shadowless base set 1. Now, I don't want to sound mean here. I don't want to sound ungrateful about different people who purchase from my eBay store or purchase in general. Because I do appreciate all of the business, and I understand that certain customers are either not familiar with Pokemon, they're just getting into the hobby, or maybe their parents or grandparents purchasing for their sons, daughters, whatever. So I like to kind of make these dummy proof, if you will. Not sound mean there, but I like to make these so that I don't receive the types of questions that I used to receive. So I like to outline first edition. I put Shadowless. Now, being a bigger collector, you might understand that it's an English card, it's first edition, obviously it's going to be Shadowless. However, you wouldn't believe the amount of questions that I would receive on these first edition base set cards when I didn't include that word Shadowless. I'd have people asking me, hey, is this card first edition and Shadowless, or is it just first edition? So I did start including the Shadowless. Same thing with like base set 2. I used to just put base set 2 because there was no first edition base set 2, so you really don't need to say unlimited base set 2. I'd receive questions from people asking whether it was a first edition base set 2 or an unlimited base set 2 card. So I kind of made it dummy proof, if you will. You do kind of want to include some detailed information there just to avoid any confusion. So I got the Pokemon set there. That's basically how I do all my listings, first edition or unlimited, and then the set name. Next up, we've got the card name and number, pretty self-explanatory there. In this case, Charmeleon, 24 of 102. And then I put the condition, in this case, near mint to mint condition. And then this portion down here, I kind of specify whether the listing, or the pictures within the listing are of the exact card that you'd be purchasing, or whether the pictures within the listing are of a similar card that you'd be purchasing. So basically, if I have multiple quantities of that same card, I'll just take one picture of the front, and I'll list however many of those cards that I have available. So in that case, the listing would be for a similar card to that pictured, but in this case, it's the exact card. They're purchasing the exact card that's pictured, so they'll be receiving that exact card. So that's all I really change on a per listing or per item basis. The rest of this information is basically the same throughout my eBay store. Any questions, please ask. Visit my eBay store for more great deals. That's definitely something I would include because there will be a lot of people who maybe aren't familiar with your eBay store. They don't know that you have more Pokemon cards available. Share successful. So my PSA graded base set video just went on YouTube. For those of you wondering, not that any of you will see this while I'm recording it, but anyway, visit my eBay store for more great deals. Some people might not know that you have additional listings on eBay, especially if you don't have an eBay store. If you just have an individual account. So you do want to include, I would recommend including something like that. If you have additional Pokemon cards or whatever you're selling. If you have additional of those items that fit within the same category, I would definitely mention that because some people aren't going to go ahead and look to see if you have additional items, but if you mention that within your description, they're more likely to go ahead and check out what else you have, resulting in possibly more sales. Next up, I just do a grading scale. So here's just kind of a brief grading scale that I use. Not too wordy, just so people can get a rough idea of what I'm talking about when I say a card is near mint to mint condition, excellent condition, played condition, so on and so forth. And then finally, we've got my shipping policy and fine print. Basically, how much I'm charging for shipping. Whether your item's going to go PWE or bubble mailer, how much it's going to cost to go PWE or bubble mailer. And then for international buyers, just this whole deal on the customs form, customs declaration, all that information right there. Next up, getting into the fun stuff right here. This is your pricing information. So format, I typically do. I did a video in the past where I talked about the differences and the pros and cons of auction style versus buy it now style. Personally, for the most part, I do fixed price, which is buy it now. I do run a few auctions here and there just to kind of promote my eBay store, move some inventory real quick. But for the most part, I do fixed price, so we'll have that selected for this item. Duration, with your fixed price listings, your duration is going to be good till canceled, no matter what. So basically, that's both good and bad. If you're not careful and if you don't want to be spending any money on listing fees, you don't want to go over your allotted free listing fees, which I believe everyone gets, no matter what level of seller you are. You get a certain amount of free listings every month. If you don't want to go over that, you got to be careful about these fixed price listings. You really got to monitor them yourself and end those listings as the end date approaches. So for these fixed price listings, they're going to be shown on eBay for 30 days. And if you don't manually go ahead and end that listing, it's going to automatically relist for another 30 days. So if you're someone who's concerned about listing fees, you do want to keep an eye on your specific listings. If you're someone who really doesn't care about the listing fees, this is an awesome way to do it, because you basically list the item and then you can forget about it until you want to go ahead and list it or end it, or your item sells, which is basically what I do. I've had items listed within my eBay store for years without any sales, and I just leave them listed and have them keep relisting until finally someone comes along and buys them. This next aspect right here, though. So start my listings when I submit them, or scheduled to start on a specific time. For fixed price listings, you really don't need to worry about this. So just start my listings when I submit them. I've never really noticed a huge difference in terms of sales starting a fixed price listing at a certain time versus another time. However, for an auction format listing, this may come in handy if you're someone who's not available to list their item at the time they want to list it. Maybe you work late or you work early, so you're going to bed. Basically, for auction listings, you want to have the auction ending at night. Specifically, I like to use between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday nights. So if you're someone who's not able to actually list that item at that time, jump on the computer, create the listing, and list that item at that time, this might come in handy for you. It's only, they do charge an additional fee. It's 10 cents per listing. But you can basically set it up where it'll save that listing and list the item on eBay at whatever date and time you specify. Do remember, it is in Pacific time, so it's based off of the eBay headquarters. So do remember that when you're selecting the time. Next up, we've got the buy it now price. Pretty self-explanatory. You can basically put any number that you want in here. Obviously, do your research. Look up what other people are selling this card for, or this item for. What else? What it's listed for on eBay. What past sales have been selling for, and kind of price it within that range there. You don't have to be the lowest price on eBay. You don't want to be the highest price on eBay unless it's something really high end, or something that you're kind of listing to drive traffic to your eBay store. Usually I like to be somewhere in the middle. So I'm never the cheapest available on eBay. I'm always usually somewhere in that middle range there. Best offer. If you want to include that, you can. For the higher value items within my eBay store, I do have best offer enabled on everything. I believe my everything listed under like $5, I don't have the best offer option anymore, just because that got to be a little too much there. So I removed that option from all of those listings. However, anything over $5, I still have the best offer. You can set it up to automatically accept offers of at least a certain dollar amount, or decline offers lower than a certain dollar amount. Personally, I don't like to do this. So I have 2,200 listings, somewhere around there, on eBay, actively on eBay. And the number of offers that I receive on a daily basis really aren't that much. You're talking maybe a half an hour a day responding to offers, so it really doesn't save that much time. And I like to have that complete control over my eBay store. So I don't like to automatically accept or decline offers. But that is an option available for you. Me personally, if I come across a listing and I submit a best offer, if I'm the buyer, I come across a listing and I submit a best offer and I see that it's been automatically declined, I'm not going to go ahead and make another offer on that item because obviously I'm thinking, hey, the seller really doesn't want to work with me. I don't want to work with them, so I'm moving on to the next listing. That's another reason why I don't like this automatic thing. So it's really up to you. I don't like it. Some people do like it. But yeah, it's one of those personal preferences there. Quantity, however many items that you're selling. So in this case, I'm just listing that one card because we do have the exact pictures above there. So we're listing quantity as 1. This stuff you really don't have to worry about. It's not a big deal. Sell is a lot. So if you have like 5 cards and you want to sell each of those 5 cards in that same lot, you can select this and list the quantity as 5, and it's basically going to tell the buyer, hey, you're purchasing 5 items for this price. Your cost per item is such and such. So if you did a buy it now of $100 with a quantity of 5, it would, in the listing, it would tell the buyer, hey, it's $100 for 5. You're paying $20 per item. So that's all that is. Really, I don't see a point to doing that. It might, I don't know on that one. That's another personal preference there. Private listing, allow buyers to remain anonymous to other eBay users. This is something I actually wouldn't recommend checking off. I would recommend leaving this blank because buyers aren't going to be able to see the usernames of other buyers, or for the most part, this comes in with bidding for auction formats. You can set it up to have a private auction where buyers can't see who else is bidding on the auction. I would recommend allowing buyers to see who else is bidding on the auction because that avoids any confusion or thought that the auction is being shill bid. You want to be as transparent as possible. So I wouldn't even worry about this. Make a donation. If you want to, sure, go for it. It might help with sales if someone sees if there's 2 items priced at the same price point. So say there's 2 near mint first edition base set Charmeleons priced at $75 each. If your listing is going to make a 10% donation to some charity, which you're able to choose, the buyer might say, hey, let me purchase this listing because a portion of that money is going to charity. Personally, I never really go that route. But if you want to, give it a shot. See what happens with your actual sales. I could see it going up a little bit if they're similarly priced. But if you're a lot higher than someone else, I think they're just going to go for the cheaper option. But yeah, give it a shot if you want to. Sales tax, you really don't have to worry about this. eBay automatically calculates the sales tax for everyone. I believe it's every state now. I'm not positive on that, but I believe it is every state at this point, so you really don't have to worry about that. Business policies. So instead of having each listing, this looks a little bit different than what you'd normally start out with. I would recommend doing this because it does save a little bit of time within each listing. If you're listing a lot of items, basically, instead of selecting your PayPal account and your PayPal email address, having to type that in for every listing, you can just create business policies for your payments, your returns, your shipping, and select whichever policy applies to that specific listing. So in my account, so you go my eBay, then you go site preferences, and then my account, and then one of your options is business policies right here. So that's where all those policies came from. I got different policies. So we'll just go ahead and check out my payment. Oh, of course. So that didn't open. So we'll go ahead and check out and see if one of these opens here. So basically, if you're just getting started listing on eBay, this section right here is going to look like this section right here. So you'll be able to go ahead and select all the different shipping options that you want to have within your listing, the cost for each of those shipping options, your handling time, same thing with international buyers, any locations that you want to exclude. So basically all of your shipping information is going to be within this section of your listing template or the listing template on eBay. Instead of doing that on an item by item basis, if you're selling a lot of items within that same range, go ahead and create different policies for each of those items. So in this case, I got low value listings. So anything that I feel comfortable with shipping PWE, that's that policy right there, low value listings. So basically, I offer PWE shipping for free. I offer bubble mailer shipping at an added cost, priority mail shipping at an added cost. Same thing with international. PWE shipping is $2. If they want to go the bubble mailer route, it's $12.50. That's for Canada, and then this is for worldwide. So that's that. And then after you create those business policies, this is how your shipping and payment information will look. You'll be able to select whichever policy applies to that listing. So in this case, I'll just do payment policy, buy it now listings, because it's a buy it now listing. This is basically just saying that I require immediate payment versus someone can purchase and provide payment later. I like to do that just so people don't purchase something and never provide payment. Shipping policy, it's not going to be shipped PWE, so it's going to be a high value listing. And then return policy, I have the same return policy for all of my listings. That's pretty standard there. Next up, international site visibility, additional eBay site. There is an additional fee to put it on eBay UK. I would just leave this blank because you are going to have international customers if you do offer international shipping. So I would just leave that blank because you are going to be charged for it if you do want the item to go on eBay UK. Package weight and dimensions. So if you're using calculated shipping, which I use flat rate shipping just because the cost to ship anything that I sell is basically the same across the board. So I just use flat rate shipping. Makes my life a lot easier. But if you're selling a whole bunch of different items or you're selling heavy items, calculated shipping might be a good option for you, just because you're guaranteed not to lose money on the shipping. So basically, you would select what you're going to be mailing. For the most part, it's going to be packaged. You're going to enter the dimensions, and then you're going to enter the weight of your package, and you're going to enter the location of your package, basically where you're shipping from. And as long as you get this weight correct, or within the ballpark, eBay's going to charge the buyer that amount of postage, so you're not going to lose money on postage. So if you're selling something heavy or something big or something like that, or if you're just really not familiar with how much postage is going to cost, the calculated option might be beneficial for you. Next up, we've got the final portion of listings. These come in handy sometimes, so sell it faster. Promoted listings, boost your item's visibility with premium placements on eBay and pay only if your item sells. So basically, if you do a search on eBay, let's see if there's, so we're at one right here. So we'll go ahead and sort price plus shipping highest first. So I went ahead and searched price plus shipping highest first on Pokemon Complete Shadowless Set. So obviously the highest price listing, we got this first listing off at a cool $1 million. And then the price point's going to quickly decrease after that. But anyway, you see this sponsored listing in the middle here. It's only priced at $549.95, so it really shouldn't be here because it's between a listing that's $300,000 and $1,000. So this listing in actuality should be further down the list. But it does say sponsored. So what that basically means is the seller added one of these ad rates. So he selected an ad rate to have his item show up towards the top of search results on eBay. Actually, I just noticed this one's sponsored as well, so it's between a $300,000 and a $250,000 item. So these listings definitely shouldn't be up here. They should be further down the list. But basically, what the seller did was he selected an ad rate to have his item pop up towards the top of the search results. You can do that. It is beneficial. I would definitely recommend doing that if you have a listing with multiple quantities available. For example, those Fossil and Team Rocket storage boxes that I'm selling on eBay, I have a ton of those available. So I have that set up as a promoted listing. I believe I did 5%. You can set this to whatever you want. I would recommend doing 5% or less. Usually that's good enough to get yourself one of these spots right here. eBay kind of gives you a recommended rate. They're saying 6.9%. I usually like to do 5%. If it's something cheap, like my modern, common, uncommon cards, I'll set the ad rate at 2%. Just because it does help out with those cards, because not many people are setting one of these for modern, commons, and uncommons. So it does help out in that aspect. And it's really not a whole lot of money. So like on a 99-cent item, 2% is basically 2 cents. So you're giving eBay an additional 2 cents if your item does sell. And this is addition to your final value fee, which for Pokemon is 10% of your item cost. So instead of 10%, it's going to be 12% or 15% or whatever you set your ad rate to. Finally, volume pricing. This is another good option to include if you have a lot of quantity available. Similar to the promoted listings, I do this with my modern bulk, commons, uncommons, so on and so forth. And let's see if I can actually show you one of those real quick so you can see what it looks like if you don't already know. But basically what it is you can set a percent off. You can give people a certain percentage off of each card if they purchase multiples of that same card. And let me try and pull one of my listings up so you can actually see what I'm talking about here. Let's just click on this one, I think. Yeah, so right now, basically, what this does is you select a percentage off. If the person buys one item, there's no discount. If they buy 2 items, you can save however much of a discount you want to allow them. Buy 3 or more, save whatever percentage. Buy 4 or more, save whatever percentage. So what I do on these modern cards is if they buy 1, it's 99 cents. If you buy 2, you're going to save 20% off of each card. So your new cost is going to be 79 cents. If you buy 3, you're going to save 25%, so your new cost is 74 cents. And if you buy 4, you're going to save 30%, so your new cost is 69 cents. So that kind of encourages people to purchase more of each card. It does work. It is beneficial. I do have a lot of people purchasing 2-3 copies of the same card since I implemented this. Now, whether that's because they actually wanted to purchase those 3 copies versus whether my actual promotion helped, really can't say on that. I'm not quite sure, but I personally do think it does help. I know I like to use this on different listings when I see it available, so I personally do think it does help. So if you're selling multiple quantities of something, definitely something to recommend right there. Finally, your total fees are going to pop up right here. So your total fees for insertion fees now, your total fees for just listing that item on eBay are going to pop up right here. Right now, eBay's doing basically anyone can list on eBay for free up to, it's something crazy, like 10,000 listings with this whole situation that's going on. So basically, there's no cost to that because I didn't add any of the additional perks, additional site or the subtitle, so on and so forth. So all you would do is you would hit list your item, and your item would go ahead and become listed on eBay, and it would look like this, minus this whole portion right here. So that's basically it. That's how you create listings on eBay. Hopefully I didn't go on too long there. Hopefully you guys learned something, found that useful. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.